All right, lovelies. So this is what we call a big old Friday dump that happened on Good Friday. Because of the holiday, Trump released his 2027 fiscal year budget, and it's trash, right? So he didn't realize that we would come back on Tuesday and bring it up again. So let's do that. $1.5 trillion is what he wants for the military budget. And in order to do that, trillion with the T, he's going to cut a lot of stuff. And I wanted to highlight all the things that were important in Maryland 1, and then I found out I was highlighting everything. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first thing. $510 million grants for farmers and agricultural research. That's gone. All my farmers here in Maryland 1, we know y'all are hurting and y'all need the help and stuff. And if he gets what he wants, that's gone. Because you know what Andy's doing, right? $82 million in loans for rural small businesses. That's going to be fully eliminated. $61 million in support for farmers and food markets. That's fully eliminated. Down here, $659 million in community building grants. $47 million support for minority-owned businesses. That's fully eliminated. And $449 million in economic development grants for communities. That's gone. Oh, here's a big one up here. $1.6 billion to NOAA for weather forecasting, fisheries, and coastal protection. That seems like something we need here. Hey, remember that big old storm they were preparing us for? It was going to be a big old tornado and we were all going to die or something. Yeah, they would have caught that. All right, we got $993 million cut from scientific research and technology standards, $150 million in support for American exports and trade, $2.2 billion in broadband and internet access programs, $8.5 billion funding for public schools is gone because we want more military, more. $1.5 billion in vocational training and adult education. In fact, that goes away. You want to know what that is? That's called Job Corps, y'all. $2.7 billion cut from college access and higher education support. $15.2 billion in roads, bridges, and infrastructure projects. Y'all know all them holes from the wintertime? Not getting them fixed. $1.1 billion in home energy efficiency and clean energy programs is fully eliminated. And $1.1 billion in scientific research. No, I'm not done. $386 million in environmental cleanup programs would be cut. Cutting edge clean energy research, $150 million cut from there. Fully eliminating the help paying home heating and cooling bills for low income families. $4 billion. Yes, let's keep going down here. We want to protect all children, especially the ones that have care and shelter for migrant children. Well, that's cut $819 million. $775 million of local anti-poverty programs fully eliminated. Public health programs, mental health services, and disease prevention, $5 billion cut. The NIH medical research, which we already have cut, another $5 billion take away. $129 million in healthcare quality and safety research cut. $356 million in emergency preparedness and disaster response. Hurricane season isn't that far away. $1.3 billion in FEMA community disaster preparedness grants, cybersecurity protection for critical infrastructure, $707 million, $52 million cut from airport and transportation security. Again, they're trying to privatize that and make a buck off of us. $40 million protection against chemical and biological weapons. Down here, community development block grants for local neighborhoods, $3.3 billion. Affordable housing construction grants, $1.3 billion. That's a fully eliminated program, both of those. Programs to reduce homelessness, $393 million. $529 million in housing assistance for people living with AIDS and HIV, and that's fully eliminated as well. $489 million in housing and services for Native American communities, $50 million cut from grants to help communities build more housing, fully eliminated. Enforcement of fair housing and anti-discrimination laws, $60 million cut from there. Home buyer and renter counseling services, fully eliminated, $58 million. $45 million renewable energy development programs, that's fully eliminated. Civil rights mediation and legal access programs are fully eliminated. $1.6 billion in job training for at-risk youth. Again, Job Corps is completely cut, would be completely cut. And $395 million jobs program for low-income seniors. That's a fully eliminated program because of these cuts. $234 million in worker safety and labor protection programs, $101 million enforcement of equal pay and workplace anti-discrimination laws. My goodness, $46 million from programs to combat child labor laws and forced labor abroad. A lot of these that we get, food aid for hungry families abroad, that's fully eliminated. $1.2 billion. Global health disease prevention, $4.3 billion. Funding for the United Nations and international partnerships, $2.7 billion cut. Man, it just keeps going. International economic and treasury programs, $642 million. Grants for public transit programs, that's $486 million cut. All right, this keeps going. I promise you. I'm going to try to make this shorter. $4.2 billion electric vehicle charging infrastructure, $372 million airline service for rural and small communities, $145 million grants for sustainable and equitable infrastructure, loans and investment for underserved communities, $204 million, IRS taxpayer services and enforcement, $1.4 billion gone. Y'all complain about doing your taxes and how much it costs. It's out of here. You're not going to get any help. $100 million air pollution monitoring and reduction programs, fully eliminated. $1 billion from EPA grants to states for environmental protection, clean drinking water and wastewater infrastructure funds, $2.5 billion, $90 million for grants to reduce diesel pollution, $3.4 billion in NASA space and earth science research. And we rounded up with $297 million in NASA technology innovation programs, International Space Station operations, STEM education programs, $143 million cut from there. Small business development and entrepreneurship programs, $309 million. Small business administration operations, $170 million. And loans for small business, $158 million. People. All of this so we can fight a war that we don't even know why we got in again. Right? We did this with Bush, but this is even worse. This is crazier. At least he tried to convince people with lies. This dude just kind of did it. Just did it. Here's the problem. This shouldn't pass. Now, Andy Harris is going to go for it because his big daddy tells him what to do. So he's totally going to be down for all of these cuts. But it's imperative that we don't do this. And remember, it's all of us for all of us. So remember, when the weakest of us suffer, the rest of us are there. So whether you're a farmer, a waterman, whether you got your own small business, see that? It's going to affect you. And cutting more stuff from the NIH, National Health, man, that is the wrong way to go. We can't afford this. Your apathy you can't afford that either. Stay woke. Stay on top of this. Let's get this vote going. June 23rd. Let's get it.